Alright, so car's back together. I just set the tail on there. It still needs to be blocked the rest of the way out. But there's your gaps. Gotta say, I'm pretty proud of those. It turned out really, really nice. All of them did. All the door gaps, all the gaps. Hood gap. And that's just sitting on there. It's got the hinges on it, but it's not locked into place. So yeah, there it is. What I was trying to do is take the clear off, which is this here, still a little bit of clear. This is the paint. And I've tried to stay off the primer. So I just broke through a little bit here. Because from here on out, you know, once I get the rest of clear and everything off, I'll go ahead and block it down with a block, probably that little block there. That way it keeps it flat, remains flat, because I don't want to sit and run over it with the DA and cause a bunch of issues and waves and so on and so forth. So anyway, that's the plan, and so we'll bring you back when she gets all back in the primer. See ya. Alright, so I was going to show you this real quick. Now obviously you can tell that that's primer. Here you can tell that little spot's primer. You get to looking at it and you're like, okay, well, is this still clear, or is that, what am I looking at? If you lose track or you don't know what you got there, whatever. Now watch this. This is isopropyl alcohol, pretty much everything, only thing I use now. Alright, so now you can tell that's paint, that's sealer, that's primer. There's some stripe left. So just basically can wipe it off and it stays like that after you sand. So now I know all this is paint still. There's part of my stripe, part of the stripe down here, the rest of that sealer, and then I'm just breaking through to the primer there. A little bit of stripe left here. Come on, come on. Anyway, so yeah, you can kind of see what I'm looking at. Same over here. That one's pretty much there, minus a little bit of paint here, some paint here. You can still see the stripe on the edge here. So yeah, a little bit more to go, and I'll be there. Of course, I have to take it off and clean underneath and all that kind of stuff to get where it wrapped around under here, get this edge and the other edge. But yeah, just a little trick, kind of show you where you are with it. So see ya. Hey guys, so there's that, and I'm pretty happy with it. So here's something I had thought about when I've been putting this car back together, and I've got epoxy primer, and I thought, what happens when this thing's all this beautiful iridium color, and all this is, iridium, and all the bolts that you put in, you crank them down, same underneath with your hinges and everything, because this is what happens, as you can see. See how they get all scarred up? And so when you put your fenders on, or your doors or anything else, well, your fenders, probably not your doors. When you put those on, you're going to adjust them. Okay? So as you're adjusting these around and you crank it down, or the back ones you slide out or in and you crank it down, well, it starts screwing up your paint. And I thought, how can you do this without having it screw all that up? Same with oh man, that hood's heavy. You'll see those, your hood hinges that'll be, all marred up and have several different places and scratches and the whole deal, where you've moved the nut or bolt around. And so I got to thinking, what if, and I may have seen this somewhere, I don't remember, but I thought, what if I get some of these little nylon washers? We didn't do this at the shop, and I always wondered why, because they'd just take a touch-up pin and touch things up after the fact, and I thought, it just seemed like there would be a better way. So what you got your bolts, you put this in there, you crank them, you put them in and you can move them around. Well, this is protecting, this plastic is protecting your paint. This is theory, because I haven't done this yet, but this is my theory on this. So put it in there, and you're able to move this around wherever you need it, tighten them down, and then when you get it where you want it, you take one out, take the spacer off, and actually put it back in there and tighten it down for the last time. then take the next one out and go around that way. That way you're protecting your paint. Just an idea, little thought. This fits the little smaller ones too. I mean, it's a little bigger, but you know, it'll work. I bought some smaller ones, but they don't fit, so but that's okay, because they send me 100 of these. I think I might have paid $10 for it. I didn't need 100 of them, but that's the only quantity I could buy them in. So anyway, there's a little thought for you, a little idea maybe. If anybody gets to that point where they're like, man, I got to adjust this and I don't want to crank down on this because it's going to scratch my hinges or scratch my, you know, these up, because these will be painted and you know, you're moving it around, the whole deal. I shouldn't have to do too much of that because I drilled these holes. So that's going, when I know that's lined up, it should be the last deal, but I'll probably still go ahead and use those little plastic washers just in case. Anyway, just a thought. A lot of cars will have, instead of just having this and that, they'll have them all the way down through there on these newer cars. So you could literally, you know, put them under each one, crank it down, and if you have to adjust or whatever, get it right where you need it, and then do what I was talking about. So anyway, another idea, good, bad, I don't know. So, yep, there she is. I didn't get as much as I wanted to get done today, but I got more than nothing done, so I guess that's good. Alright guys, one more thing before I shut off for tonight. There's one guy on my last video that knew how these worked. He said this little deal where it's bent, smaller at the bottom, goes at the bottom. The top, he said to basically just use a hammer and dolly over. This is what I did on the other side, which I just did a little bit, but I thought I'd show you guys what I was doing here. Alright, so all I did was just kind of put a little bit, kicked it down that way a little bit. And now it just pops on. And then I took this basically and just sat and kind of squashed it on there a little better. Just kind of went down the deal here. Kind of like that. So, and I got to take those off. This little deal that sits under here just will pop right off like that. So yeah, it just pops on and off. Pretty nice. Yeah, that works. So thanks to whoever that was. I'd never seen him, never heard from him before. Must be a new subscriber. Sound like a Spanish name, but anyway, yeah, I appreciate that. Because that gave me a good, you know, the idea to at least put this on the bottom. And so, alright, see you guys.